Today, we're diving into one of the biggest rivalries in modern space exploration, NASA versus China. The question everyone is asking is simple. Who will build the first permanent moon base? Will it be NASA with its Artemis program, or China with its ambitious International Lunar Research Station? Today, we break down the plans, the technology, the timelines, and the strengths of each side, so you can decide who has the real advantage in this new space race. Let's get started. NASA's long-term goal goes far beyond returning humans to the moon. Artemis isn't just designed for a single landing. NASA wants a sustained presence on the lunar surface. Infrastructure, habitats, research stations, and technology that will support future missions to Mars and beyond. The vision is a moon base that is both scientific and strategic, forming a platform for deep space exploration. On the other side, China has its own bold vision. Through the China National Space Administration, China and its partners are developing the International Lunar Research Station, the ILRS. It's designed to be a long-term robotic and crewed base on or near the moon's south pole. China has been clear about their goals. They want a functional, scientific station that uses the moon's natural resources and relies less on hauling heavy modules from Earth. So let's compare their timelines. NASA's Artemis plan involves a series of missions that gradually build capability. First robotic missions, then crewed landings, then permanent infrastructure. Artemis 1 tested the SLS and Orion system. Artemis 2 will carry astronauts around the moon, and Artemis 3 aims to land humans on the moon's south pole. Beyond that, NASA plans to assemble the Lunar Gateway in orbit around the moon and eventually establish surface habitats. The timeline is ambitious, but political and funding challenges could delay the process. China's ILRS approach is phased and heavily based on robotics. First, they plan to send robots, landers, and rovers to survey the lunar south pole and prepare the site. Then, in the 2030s, the actual structure of the research station could be built partly using materials derived from lunar soil. China has already mentioned experimenting with 3D printing technology on the moon, hoping to construct buildings directly on the lunar surface. If successful, this approach could drastically reduce costs and accelerate construction. Let's look at the strengths of each side, starting with NASA. NASA has decades of human spaceflight experience, advanced life support technology, and a huge network of international partners. The Artemis program involves contributions from Europe, Japan, Canada, and many private space companies. NASA has a strong foundation of proven technologies, from deep space communication to human-rated spacecraft and precision landing systems. If NASA succeeds, its moon base will be technologically advanced, highly capable, and deeply integrated with global cooperation. But NASA faces big challenges. Transporting large habitat modules to the moon is expensive and logistically complicated. Each launch costs billions of dollars. Political changes can also influence NASA's budget, potentially slowing progress. And because everything must be delivered from Earth, NASA's moon base could take longer to construct and might be more expensive to maintain. Now let's look at China's strengths. China is designing the ILRS to be built using lunar soil, either through 3D printing or brick-making techniques. This approach would allow them to construct structures directly on the moon without relying heavily on Earth launches. This strategy gives China a major advantage in speed and cost. China is also exploring nuclear power technologies for the moon, meaning their base could remain powered even during the 2-week lunar night when solar power becomes limited. Their robotic-first strategy could create a fully prepared site before humans even arrive. China's challenges are different from NASA's. While China has launched successful robotic missions, they still need to complete crewed landings on the moon, something NASA achieved over 50 years ago. Human missions are far more complex than robotic ones. Life support, astronaut safety, radiation protection, and long-term survival systems are huge hurdles. While China's timeline is ambitious, setbacks in human spaceflight could slow them down. So, who actually has the edge? At the moment, China seems slightly ahead in terms of building a physical base quickly. Their in-situ construction strategy means they may not need to launch huge habitat modules from Earth. If their technology works, they could assemble a basic lunar outpost without humans even stepping foot on the surface. Meanwhile, NASA's approach is more methodical, more expensive, and relies heavily on proven technologies, but that means the final result might be more stable and sophisticated. But experience matters. NASA has a massive lead in human space exploration. They understand the complexities of long-term crewed missions, radiation effects, medical requirements, and deep space operations. China's rapidly catching up, but the gap still exists. So while China might build the first basic lunar station, NASA may build the first advanced, fully capable moon base. Now let's talk about what this means for the future. A permanent moon base, whoever builds it first, would transform human spaceflight. It would support scientific research, serve as a testing ground for deep space habitats, and possibly become a hub for mining lunar ice, harvesting fuel, or building materials for future missions. The moon could become a gateway to Mars, and whichever country builds the first base will set the tone for international space policy on the lunar surface, shaping rules, cooperation, and resource sharing for decades. So, who will build the first moon base? Will it be NASA with its powerful Artemis coalition, or China with its resource-efficient robotics-driven ILRS model? Right now, China's strategy gives them a faster path, but NASA's experience gives them a more secure one. The truth is, the race is incredibly close, much closer than most people realize. Let me know in the comments, who do you think will win the moon base race? NASA, China, or maybe even a private company like SpaceX? And when do you think we will finally see a permanent base on the moon? If you enjoyed this deep dive into the new lunar race, make sure to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you never miss a Space Unleashed video. Until next time, keep looking up.